All right, in today's video, I'm going to show you how I go through a basic Lightroom edit, because that might be something you may or may not want to know. I mean, it's not like I can read your mind or anything. It's not like I'm you know what, just roll the intro. So I have this challenge that I presented myself with, and it is to take a usable photo every day. We don't always succeed and we don't always take absolute bangers, but we can always put forth the effort and ensure that we're getting good practice. Anyway, so I'll put that challenge on myself, and I also put the challenge on myself that I'm gonna show you how I edit those photos when I do. This is for the beginner, the guy that's just starting out. Those of you that are just trying to learn the ropes of how your camera works, or how Lightroom works, or how Photoshop works. So this is a two-part video. In the first video, I'm gonna show you what I do to this photo in Lightroom. In the second video, I'm gonna show you what I do to this in Photoshop. So this photo is a picture that I took of my buddy Jason. He's an archer, and he's a good friend of mine. He's teaching me how to hunt, and I was in his backyard because we were shooting arrows yesterday, and I decided that I was going to take some shots. So I captured this photo, and I wanted to work with it in particular because it presents a number of challenges. So the very first thing that I want to do with this photo is I want to crop it. I know I don't always crop first, but this one in particular I do. There's a bunch of stuff over here on the right that I don't like. There's a bunch of stuff over here on the left that I don't like. And I feel like it takes focus away from Jason's face. So let's crop it. We just come over here, we hit the crop, put it right there, put it right there. Now, since this is Jason and we want to frame up his face because he's an absolute badass, we'll put him over here. And maybe in Photoshop, in the next video, we'll get rid of this one. But I really like this crop. Let's bring it down just a hair so we put his eyes right here on this line. It's not a must, but for the composition of this picture, I feel like that's where his eyes should be. So I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna come over here and I'm gonna hit my crop again. I need an overall tone for this image. I feel like it's a little too blue. The light was a really challenging situation because it was streaming out from behind him, and you can notice that it puts this really bright light here, and the sun kicks these lens flares. We can't fix the lens flares here in Lightroom, or we're not going to anyway. We're actually gonna fix them in Photoshop in the next video, but let's get our color right in this video. So I'm gonna bring this over to the warm side. I want it to be a little bit more of a warmer image. He's a great dude that you love to talk to, so we just want to kind of keep it warm. A couple of the things that I'm going to do is I'm going to slide back my highlights because I feel like they're a little too much, and you can notice that already brings back some of the life into this image. I also want to take my whites down just a hair, and you'll see that I'm starting to get some blue right up here. So let's go and let's kick those blacks in, make them real authentic, make them real rich. We're editing for color on this one, so we want to make our blacks richer than we normally do, just because I want to put some pop into it. Also, I normally don't put clarity in these kind of images, but I'm going to on this one. Actually, you know what? Let's use texture instead. Just a dab will do you. Just a dab will do you. You don't need a ton of texture. If you decide to use texture or clarity, be sparing with it. Don't overdo it. So the next thing I'm gonna do is come all the way down here to my calibration settings. I'm gonna twiddle a few of these dials. I'll put some blue back in there, and that kind of pops some life into it. I don't really need a vignette on this one, and if I do want to put one on, I'm gonna do it in Photoshop. And then let's pull up our highlights just a bit. So this is already a much better image. So I'm gonna hit a couple keys on my keyboard. The one that I'm gonna hit is the slash key, right? And it's the one that's up there by your backspace or by your delete key, according to which operating system you're on. This shows us our original image versus where we are now. This is what it was before. It was kind of blue and washed out and a little over bright, maybe a little overexposed. This is where it's at now. So this is already a much friendlier, warmer image. I was able to take an image that was almost unsalvageable and save it. So let's make a few more adjustments, shall we? I'm gonna go to my tone curve. Here you have highlights, lights, darks, and shadows. Essentially, it's this section right here, but it's like an extra layer of that section because now I can further dial in my highlights. I like those. I'm gonna bring just a little bit of life back into his hat. I feel like I'm losing the sky, but I don't feel like it's that important because the focus is right here on his face. But just for safety's sake, let's bring those highlights down so we can save that sky. Yeah, play with the darks a little bit. I wanna open them up just a hair, and the shadows I really wanna open up just a hair. And let's bring those darks back down. A lot of times you make a choice or a decision and you have to go back in and retweak a few things. So let's open our shadows up, but let's bring our blacks back down. So we have a few things that I want to change, but these are obviously going to be changes I'm going to need to make in Photoshop. I'm going to have to take out this lens flare and this lens flare, maybe even this one because they're distracting. However, that one's going to be a little bit hard because it is right here on top of this Bear Creek Archery logo. I don't really want to recreate the logo. We'll see if Photoshop can do it. I don't know that it can, but we'll try. Okay, I really like what we've got going on here. So in the next video, I am actually going to edit this in Photoshop further. I'm going to show you some skills. I'm going to show you some tips and some tricks. So click that link up there, and that'll take you over to the Photoshop video for this image.